Yeah, can you show an example again of that clipping? I think you did it like a clipping mask
Oh,
on
clipping
your
mask?
video.
Yeah. Okay, so what I did was this. I'm going to go. And I like, in this case, I'm going to use this. You don't have to do it with a rough brush, obviously, but for this, it makes it a little more interesting. Oops. I'm going to make it a different color so I can see it. Okay, so I'm just making a shape, yeah?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
On its own layer. And then I like to just control the edges, obviously. So I'm going to come in here and go. Where is it? This one. Kind of like the edges this makes. And then I always forget this. It has to go underneath, I think. I hold Option, and there it is. That makes sense? Where'd you go? Okay.
I was talking without the mic. So you
Okay.
can like do it like black and white, so you can like take some in and take some out,
You
right?
can do it. I don't think it matters what color the actual shape is because all Photoshop's reading is the shape.
Okay.
Now, what can happen here, this is a mask. You can see it. Well, it basically, and by the way, I'm holding Option. I'm going in between the two layers. The little icon will change to the clipping mask icon, and then I just click it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I could come back in here. I can paint that mask in, or I should be able to paint it back out too. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So you can paint it back in and out however you want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a color under here. Oops. That's one thing I hate it when it does that. There it is. I'm going to pull this down here. Let's give it a color underneath. Yeah. So I should be able to come in here. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. And that should paint it back out. I don't know why it's not, but it should. So I should, it's painting in both ways. I'm not sure exactly why it's doing that.
So
Yeah.
the big difference about this one and the layer mask
Yeah.
is the shaping.
This is creating a shape and then it's using it to do what I just did, right?
Okay.
A layer mask is something where I'm painting things in and out, but it does. I mean, you could probably do it in a layer mask too. That's basically what this is doing.
Yeah.
But I should be able to paint back into it, which is, well, I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. I should be able to paint it because I do this all the time. I'll get a rough brush and I'll paint some of it out so it gets a real rough look.
Yeah.
So I'll figure out why it's not doing that. I'm doing something stupid probably. What happens if you do this? There it goes. Oh, so I put another layer mask on it, and then it's now, I've never done that before. That's weird. So let's take this. Yeah, see? So now I can kind of paint it in or out, which I swear I've done the other way before. Yeah.
It looked like you were doing it in the demo a little.
It was. I was.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I guess we have a problem with it. And then look, I can do this. I can reduce this opacity and not get quite as much of a strong, or I should be able to, thing on it. And I can come in here and I can kind of more manage all my distress or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
I might come in here with maybe this. And then flip. Yeah. So I'm just doing it. I just made a layer mask. So if you have any problem with it, just make a layer mask on your clipping mask image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which I don't know why it's doing that, but it doesn't matter. It's accomplishing the same thing. So see, I can control the distress and all that, right?
Yeah, it like kind of keeps the texture too.
And I can go because I want this a little less uniform. And then what's nice too is I can switch textures here and get different, so it's not all super uniform.
Yeah.
Like that's getting a little bit of a canvas texture in there, which is kind of cool. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
But again, in theory, I should be able to do that without without a clipping mask, but that is a solution, so that's fine. Okay. What was I gonna mixed media? Okay, with the mixed media thing too. I mean, I did that spontaneously because we were talking about Matt Mahurin and all that, but there is 1,000 ways to use that. Does that make sense? Also, like all those same ideas, like with that image I was just using, I could start doing the exact same thing with the photograph, same exact thing. And then maybe I'll put a layer over it and start painting in it. I mean, it doesn't have to start with traditional. There's just something nice about, there's certain things I can do traditionally. They're kind of interesting. I'm going to do a demo with it, doing a graphite wash drawing, because that's going to get a lot of atmosphere and that kind of thing. And then I'll scan that in and I'll start playing with it. I'll probably paint it a little bit too, traditionally. And then I'll pull that into that idea and sort of finish it out digitally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes there's just certain things where I'm like, why am I trying to recreate this? I can get this really well with traditional.
Yeah.
And I also think it's good for you guys to, because we're just talking about this in some class. Oh, illustration. It's really, in my opinion, you need to keep your chops up in both. You need to keep your chops up in traditional. I would argue that your skill set really needs to come out of foundational traditional and then into the digital environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to, and the reason it came up in illustrations is there's people in there who go, because now I got a lot of people in there who are trying to do their final traditionally and things like that, which is interesting, which is cool. And a lot of them are going, oh, this is really hard. I'm like, right, because the skill set you think you have, you don't have. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you really find that out is if you start going in traditional stuff and going, I don't really know anything about color. I don't really know anything, because a lot of them are struggling with color. And it's like, that's because you've been picking color, not mixing color, right?
Yeah.
And you have no clue of like, well, that's a warm red as opposed to a cool red, or vice versa with yellow, whatever color you're using, or how to get those very subtle grays, like colored grays and things like that, that type of sophisticated color, you really need. And I'd argue go out and plein air paint and draw from life. Boom, boom. Do those two things, bring it into the digital environment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I just want to go over a couple of simple things today. Okay. One of them, let's go over this one first. Okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So under your brush tool right here, there's this one called color replacement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you guys see let's make it bigger. See my brush?
Yep.
And see how it's got a crosshairs right in the middle of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's where it's sampling from. Okay, so let's pick one of these. Let's go to a blue idea. Okay, so that little crosshairs is where it's sampling. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And what it's doing, if I move over that, and I'll show you here in a second. I move over that, it's going to start sampling something else. Oh, let me go over the controls here in a minute. So it's literally doing exactly what it says. It's just replacing this color. And it's just going to go, you know, and I'd probably have to come in here pretty close and probably go to a little smaller brush. And then I don't want to go, I want that crosshairs in the area that I'm trying to change. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go over here, see how it'll start to affect that?
Mm-hmm.
But if I stay in here, it's going to start to find, that's a little over, but I think that's okay. I want to stay inside of that little, there's up here, the kind of standard way to use this is on the color mode. This continuous, this first one, and this contiguous drop down right here. Now there's one called find edges that I don't really use, but and then there's a tolerance here, which you notice a lot of these tools have tolerance. That's like how much it's going. So if it's starting to spill too much over into something else, you might want to reduce the tolerance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is just like how you do your, then I'd have to go in here and get a little trickier. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Very easy way to replace color, right? Now, on a more complex object, it's really going to be the same idea, but now it's going to be the same thing, but now you're into a little more complex object. And this is why it's really useful. It's going to pick up my shadow. It's going to pick up my, whatever you call it, my reflections and all that kind of stuff. But, and then if I just kind of start doing exactly what I just said, where I'm staying in that sampled area, it's going to be pretty easy to change the color, even on a complex object like this. Yeah.
So what's the difference between doing this versus like creating a new layer, coloring in the blue parts with the green like on the second layer, and then reducing or putting it on over layer, reducing the opacity?
I would have to go in and make a very complex selection.
Oh, I see.
And I'd probably have to play much more with, I'd probably have to make a very complex selection of everything, just the stuff I'm going to change the color on, right?
Mhm.
And then I'd probably have to fiddle with it and maybe just take the selection part and reduce that to black and white so I could lay a color over it.
Okay.
Good, because if I just go, I'm going to make it green and it's a blue car under there, well, that green overlay is going to overlay over blue and they're somehow going to intermingle.
Right, right.
So, you know, if I had a very complex selection, then I could just go up to hue saturation and reduce the saturation to black and white. And then, you know, I could probably do an overlay, but that, can you see how much more complicated that is?
Mm-hmm. So
Go ahead.
while you're doing this, if you were to, let's say, swipe across the black, is that gonna change the color as well? Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, a little bit.
Okay, so here's the thing. The reason I think it's not changing it is changing it slightly. You probably can't see it. But part of that reason is because, remember when we did the Graphite thing and I said, don't ever have your values go all the way to black?
Yeah.
This is why. It doesn't accept color because it's sort of a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
It is tinting it a little bit. Now, it probably wouldn't matter that much. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. But if I swipe over it completely, then that crosshairs is now over that. And now what I've just told the computer is, oh, I want to tint this too. Because it's about the way it's finding this edge is that crosshairs is staying in the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going over a little, but the crosshairs itself isn't. So it should be able to, you know, and it's not infallible like any other tool in here, but it's pretty damn good. You see it?
Yeah.
Now, and you can see, I mean, if I go through the whole car, it's going to look totally believable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, make sure you're looking at all these tools in relation to how you're working, because you might do a, and I've had this happen, where on, for some dumb ass reason, maybe I flattened a file or something. Then somebody goes, hey, can we change that part of it to red? And you're like, ah, crap. But then I can go in there with this a lot of the times and do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's also going to remember, this is a fairly complex image, but you know, it really is going to matter how crazy complex you get with your imagery. And again, that's why you got to know a variety of techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's another one in here, which I never use, which is find edges, which I'm assuming is just exactly what it says. So let's see. So I'm assuming that's basing itself on, oh, there's a big color change there or a big value change there, and I'm finding the edge. I'm assuming that's what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so fairly simple, right? So now if you look in your tools here, that's all your brush tools. And there's a pencil tool, which is just what it says. Color replacement, mixer, brush, and brush tool are all under there together, right?
Right.
In subsequent terms or whatever, if you're in another class and you forget something, or if you want to push something in that class, or you want to go, hey, I want to do this, bring it back to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you disrupting that class with Photoshop questions. Just come back to me. I'm fine with that. Okay. I'm not going to go, you don't remember. Of course, you're not going to remember everything. Right. So I want to be a resource from here on out forever. Okay. Until I fall into a manhole, an open manhole, and I, you know,
Which I hope never happens.
and meet my maker. I'm assuming I'll go in some sort of cartoonish way.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah. Like Sonny Bono he skied into a tree.
Oh my gosh.
All right, one other thing I want to go into here, which I haven't introduced here, and I just want to kind of introduce you to this because I think it's important. Let's look down here. So part of your Adobe suite here is Bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at this. And again, I just want to start getting you under the hood in here a little bit, because this is a really useful. Where's Jordan at? Is he in here? Okay, so let's look at this is Bridge, yeah?
Bridge. Uh-huh.
Okay, so right over here, I'm just going to show you a couple of things in here because this is a lot of interesting things this can do. I have this under Essentials here. Can you guys give me 2 seconds here?
Sure.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, so right up here is my navigation, right? So I navigated to this folder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which has, okay, so, and I'm looking at it in Essentials, this is what I usually use. You can do libraries, you can do film strip, which is all down here if you look.
Chalupa.
Huh?
Chalupa.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I just grabbed a folder to use for this talk. Where does he see in that one? Here?
No, underneath.
Oh, it's just some drawing of some guy with his pants down around his.
One chalupa, please.
And I just said, don't do this. There's another version of that here for some reason. Anyway, these are old drawings. But,
Oh, good.
anyway, so this is just a folder full of sketches, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm under Essentials. That's my view. Down here, I can change my how I look at it. This is giving me the metadata on it. This is just a list view. And then I like it here. And then you can adjust your size, how you're viewing it here. I like it about there. Okay, so I have this folder of stuff, right?
Yes.
Now what, and the reason I was going to say this too is like, don't only think of this because we have people in here who aren't, you know, like Taylor, I think is a computer science major, I think. Jordan's an architecture major, still a creative thing. You could use this for any kind of files, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this says no keywords. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, no keywords. So what it's telling me, I think there's no keywords on any of these things. Now, this right here, you can rotate them. I don't care about that. Open a camera raw. Does everybody know what camera raw is?
No.
It's a file format basically, and it's just what it says. It shoots big giant, like you can put your camera on that. And I think it has no compression, no nothing on it. It's just a big giant raw file, right?
Okay.
Photographers like it and things like that. Okay. I'm not a good enough photographer really to use it that much. And then here we got review mode, batch rename. So you could rename literally a batch of things. And it'll even let you come in and go, as you do it, you'll pick them. And then you could give it like a, let's say Photoshop 101 is the prefix or whatever. And then it'll just number it or whatever. It'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4 prefix, you know, and it'll organize them into a project idea. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right. I'm not going to go too much into that one. This right here, I can pick one of these and I can go into Photoshop. I can click that and go into Photoshop, adjust the file, come back to Bridge, right? Recent stuff. There you go. Okay, so, and then over here, I don't want to go into publish. Here's metadata, and here's keywords. Okay, so down here, here's my metadata, which I don't really want. Let's see if I can. No, that's a little better. Okay, here's assigned keywords, right? So over here, I can usually assign. See if I can do it here. Yeah, like here. I can go to landscape. Right, so it's going to show me nothing but that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Portrait, nothing but that. Square, nothing but that. And then there's dates here I can pick. And then over here, aspect ratios. Okay, why this is all important is because when you're doing a job, you'll be surprised how much crap you generate, right? I've lost files before, and if I could have just done this, there's a lot of tools in here. It's actually when I first discovered it, because for a long time I didn't even know what Bridge was. And I found some stuff that I couldn't find for like days, and I came in here and did a very refined search on it, and I found them, right? So over here, let's go Alice in Paris. Yeah, I don't have any there. And I can come down, so these have different things, events. And I can go to other keywords, and over here I can assign here, new keyword. Okay, so if I pick something and I go here, I can go new keyword and I can give it Taco Bell sketches, napkin sketches, right? Napkin doodles. And if I assign everything that way, I could do it however your brain works, right? That's the other thing I like about this is I can assign search things that work with my brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like with this, I'd probably just do napkin doodles. And I can just assign a lot of different things for it. So when I come back in and look for it, it's much easier to find it. Does that make sense? Now, the other thing I like about this is I can pick something in here and then I can go up here to label and I can go 1 through 5 star rating. Okay. Why does that matter? Because when I bring in a lot of information or maybe sketches, whatever it is, it could even be reference for a job. I'll rate them that way. So when I look at them right away, I can just tell Bridge, just show me all the 5-star stuff. That's all the stuff I liked. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I don't want you. You've done that. You're fishing through all this stuff over and over again. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I want to just go, here's all the ones I liked. Here's the ones, here's the second tier ones, 4-star, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, another thing I love about it is I can go label and I can go approved, review, to do. I love the approved thing because it might be something I've shown to somebody and it's approved. And now I know, just show me all the approved stuff, you know, because I might need that. So, and also I have this one set up. I can't remember where, I think it's here. No, it's here. Get photos from camera. You can also tell it to, whenever you plug in an outside hardware device like a camera, it'll just automatically open it in Bridge, right? Which is kind of nice because then you look at it, organize it right off the bat, right? I mean, you don't always have to do it. I think you can opt out of it, but it can be really nice to organize. Like, certain jobs, I'll just get piles of reference, right?
Yeah.
Here's what we've done. Here's where we're going. Here's a bunch of old sketch. It might be 100 things at a time, right? And it really helps go in and organize that stuff. And I've done this over and over again where I do that and then I can't find it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's not even that I just can't find it. Sometimes I go back and I go, God, which one of these was it I liked? Because these 15
Yeah.
things are kind of the same, but there was one I really liked. Why did I like that? And I can put a 5-star rating on that, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then I have these over here. And these are the standard ones, by the way, where it says birthday, graduation, wedding, people, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I have Matthew and Ryan in there. Places, blah, blah, blah. These might be things I put in a long time ago.
So when you put in the keywords, can you do that outside of Bridge or is it only in Bridge?
I don't think you can do that outside of Bridge
Okay.
that I know of.
Okay. Because I was thinking if you like renamed your file to like Napkin Doodle 1 and then another file Napkin Doodle 2, and then if you put that as a keyword to look up, then all your napkin doodles would show up because it has the name in it.
Well, you're going to assign a keyword. Like if I pick, I don't know, 5 of these and I assign keywords to all those and just go click napkin doodle and assign that keyword, as I go through, all of them are going to have that keyword attached to them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but for years I was like, what the hell is Bridge? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I didn't know what it was. And then I had people again go, why don't you use Bridge? And I'm like, I don't have time for that. And it's like, oh my God, again, negating something that would have saved me all kinds of time. And, there's times where I was working, I didn't work freelance that much. I mean, I only worked freelance for a few years when I decided to switch to education. But sometimes, man, they just send me a ton of, just a ton of stuff. And then I'm generating a ton of stuff, assets, sketches, ideas, just all this different stuff. Maybe even stuff that I'm pulling and working with the person I'm pulling from an art direction standpoint. So now I've got a folder full of all this art direction stuff. And if I go and, especially nowadays, if I'm having a conversation, back then it was more on the phone or, through email or whatever. Now I probably have a Zoom meeting with them if I'm not going in there, and I want to be able to go here and immediately go, here's all my 5-star stuff, how I have it organized. So I'm not wasting people's time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you don't, I've done this before. I had this happen actually in the last big job I did before I came here. I could not find the layered file for this thing, man. And I was keeping everything organized, or at least I thought I was. And of course there was some file and they go, hey, can we change this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because I can keep everything layered. Well, I couldn't find it. All I could find was the JPEG I sent to them. So I had to recreate that whole damn thing. And I can't charge them for that. That's my fault. You know what I mean? So I'm totally shooting myself in the foot doing that kind of crap. Super irritating. You need to be organized. And like Taylor. Oh, did I lose Taylor now too? There he is.
No, my mic was acting up. What's up?
Again, you're computer science, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could use all this stuff for the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to generate a ton of billions of things, same as anybody. And a lot of times when you're talking about these things, because I get a lot of people in different disciplines in this particular class, it's like use it as an organizational tool if it works for you in whatever you do. Okay. And I would argue you'll probably be generating tons of files and things like that where it can get very sort of, I don't know, esoteric or something, you know what I mean? Where it's, if I don't have something like here, I'm looking at things visually. It's pretty easy. If I'm looking at a whole bunch of Excel documents or Word documents or whatever, this really comes in handy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then over here, it also has, or up here, it also has, this is the metadata for whatever I pick. There it is for this, right? Which can come in really handy if you need to know the photo information and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, especially with devices it might have been taken on if it's an actual photo.
Yeah. you know, and if you're, it's, you know, there's just a lot of stuff in here you might want to use. And also for somebody like me, who's not a good photographer, I might go, man, I like that photo I took. Like, what did I do? And it'll tell you like the lens or the focal length of the lens, whatever, stuff like that, where I might be able to go, okay, now I see why I like that, because it was a big f-stop and it was, you know, letting a lot of light in or whatever, right? So it can
Mhm.
become important. All right, does that all make sense?
Mhm.
I never noticed this. That's kind of cool. You can go in here and
So like a zoom.
yeah, it's cool, but it's like real
Magnifying
bright.
glass.
Huh?
So I like that it's almost like a magnifying glass, but at
Yeah,
the same
it's
time it's
cool.
not.
How do you get rid of it? Let's see. Yeah, so you go boom, and then boom, it gets rid of it. That's cool. There. By the way, there's a ton of other stuff you can do in here. I basically use it as an organizational tool, like I just said. There's a ton of stuff you can do in here. Okay. And what I want you to do is just play with it again. Just go in and just kind of do the basic stuff. But there's a lot of stuff you can do in here with this thing. Publish panel. You can publish stuff out of here. Oh, you can go here too. I didn't know that. Well, that's interesting. It has image trace in here. I didn't know that. There's your labels, stacks I don't know about. View, edit. And again, like I don't know. I guess maybe you could. Yeah, you could. Because it has this rotate thing here. If I'm bringing them in straight off my iPhone or whatever, you know how that does that sometimes, where it should be vertical, but it's horizontal. You could just go and switch them real fast, right?
Yeah.
And you could probably grab 4 or 5 of them at a time and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Yeah.
Sounds good.
And I'll put this video up as quick as I can.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
See you guys later.
Bye.